Okay, so, and we are back with the analysis of this part. So, it is the description that we have in the beginning of chapter 5, just beginning in a way with let's say, kind of walk that two of the main characters of this novel do. And Dickens, in a way, stops narrating the facts, the events of this novel to describe this fictional city, as I told you, that is called Coketown. And as it is really very typical of Dickens, let's stop for a while analyzing the name of this city. So coke was a kind of, let's say, artificial coal that was used for getting energy and to make also the steam engine work. That is one of the most important inventions that occurred, that happened during the Victorian Age. And so coke, it is what we call coke. It's a kind of, let's say, stone, a kind of brick that is made by coal, and it is used to be burnt, of course, and to get energy from to get power from it. Okay, so I think that just using this word in the beginning as the name of the city also makes the reader in a way create a particular idea related to this town that is completely polluted, as you can understand. Just think about all the coal power stations that we already have in our lives in some countries that are really very polluting. And so you already get the idea of something that is completely dirty and completely unhealthy, first of all. And then let's concentrate on the very first lines that we have. So it was a kind of red brick or of brick that would have been red if the smoke and ashes had allowed it. So again, the main color would have been red if the air, if the atmosphere, what all people breathed, would have not been so polluted. Okay, and this is the first part. Then in the second line we see it was a town of unnatural red and black, like the painted face of a savage. So we have the dominion in a way of these two colors, red and black, that of course are related to something that is completely unnatural and artificial again, because they are not the normal colors of nature. Nature is normally blue and green and yellow, as for I don't know, corn and so on. So the colors that he uses really describe an artificial situation in a way. Also keep in mind that we have the red and the black like the painted face of the savage, and then we have later on the black color in it. That is the river that has also these very unnatural colors, purple and black. Okay, so again we got the idea of something that is completely unhealthy and polluted. Then he goes on writing that it has this ill-smelling dye that is an artificial color again. So if you color your hair, for example, you have dyed hair, so it is the same name. And again, starting from the site, we also have, in a way, the smell as the other sense that is described. That is, again, completely unnatural, unhealthy, and artificial. Okay, then let's make a step backwards when he describes the machinery and the tall chimneys out of which interminable serpents of smoke trailed themselves forever and ever. Okay, so I think it's interesting to analyze this thing. He speaks about a savage, then he speaks about the serpent, and later on he also describes an elephant in a state of melancholy madness, right? So these three elements normally belong to adventure books, right? So for example, the books that were written by Rudyard Kipling, so with the Jungle Book, right? It is interesting, this fact, because he's describing something that happens inland, I mean in England, of course, and he uses some aspects, some nouns, and some features that are related to adventure books, right? Then I want you also to think about it. He uses very vivid colors, red and black. Then he uses also an animal, the serpent, that of course, together with the other two words that are the adjectives, the colors, in a way make us think of hell, right? Something that is related to hell and that is related to damnation in a way, right? Because we really think about the religious value of the religious meaning of these words, red, black, and serpents. And so the idea that we get is that it is so that Coketown is a damned city, just like a city of hell, right? Then, going on, so I told you about the elephant and so on. Let's concentrate on the last part of this paragraph. It contained several large streets and so on. So, in this particular part of the description, we really got the idea of an alienating life there, because as you can see, everything is all the same. So we really miss and we really lack the idea of an identity, of an individual identity related to people living there, or I don't know, the identity of a particular street, the identity of a particular part of the city. Everything is the same, so the sameness, the equality that is not equality come uguaglianza in Italian, but the sameness perhaps is better. The fact that we don't have any different thing in this city, right? Of course, the idea that you get from this part is an idea related to alienation. So how alienating is the life in a city that was founded during the Industrial Revolution. And this sense of alienation goes on also in the second paragraph. So as you can see, all the buildings, all the public buildings are the same, have the same look in a way, because as he says, the infirmary could have been the jail, the town hall could have been either, so the infirmary is a hospital, the jail is the prison, right? So buildings that have a very different function in the public life, right? And also the town hall is the place where all people meet to discuss about politics and so on. So the public life of a city, right? But these three buildings that in the end are supposed to be really very different, are meant to be different because they have different functions, look all the same. Why? Because facts are the only interesting part, the only important parts in the life of the town. And also have a look on how effective he is. So fact everywhere in the material aspect, fact everywhere in the immaterial. So no matter if the buildings are meant to have a meaning for the spiritual life of a man or for the material life of a man, everything, what is really important for all people living there is that facts are the most important part. And so I think you can really see here the very sharp criticism Dickens makes towards the utilitarian philosophy. Okay, then let's go on, and we have the last part that is also really interesting as for the school. So I told you in the previous video that this Chuck'em child means soffocare I bambini, soffoca bambini, I would say. So, and I think you can get it, you can understand it how ironical he is giving this name to the school, right? So the school is meant to be a building where personalities of children flourish, have really the opportunity to flourish, right? This is exactly the contrary, what you can see. Okay, so everything that is important is related to facts. I'm going to translate it for you because I think it's really worth being understood in the end. So, la scuola soffoca bambini, let's say, era tutta un fatto proprio. La scuola di design, di disegno proprio, era tutto fatti, di progettazione potremmo anche dire, so for this design, e le relazioni tra padrone e uomo erano tutti fatti. Ogni cosa era un fatto tra The Lining Hospital, l'ospedale dove le persone giacevano, c'è la nota, la clinica, sorry, no, it's completely different. La clinica per partorienti, as it is translated in your book, dalla clinica per partorienti fino al cimitero. So, the starting of the human life till the end of the human life. Ok. E tutto ciò che non potevi tradurre in cifre o che non si poteva acquistare a buon mercato e vendere al prezzo più alto, non era, non sarebbe mai stato per i secoli dei secoli. Amen. So I think this is one of the most beautiful way and one of the highest points that Dickens reaches in his writing, because even though it is of course ironical, you can understand how sharp is his criticism here. So all and everything you couldn't translate into facts and figure didn't have any reason of being in a way, right, of existing also. And he uses in the last part here, he uses really the typical formulation of prayers in the end. So the prayers are that is, will always be, world without end means forever and ever, nei secoli dei secoli, and Amen. This is really the last word in prayers. So I think you can really get how ironical he is here, but again, how good he is, how effective he is in describing the situation as it really was. So for utilitarianism, everything that you couldn't translate, you couldn't put into into facts and figures, numbers, didn't have any reason of being again. Okay, and that's all for it. Read also the perspectives because it is also really very well written. Okay, so that's all for today. Bye bye.